will know where else to go. I mean, it's like we'll call social services, or but no one can help.
So that just like
yes, that's so frustrating.
Drops them and everything, having that encouragement.
Exactly.
Okay. What would you say it is about your personality that makes you good at your job?
I hope I'm good at my job. I think it's my passion. I've had a couple of parents tell me or compliment me. They say, you're passionate about this, huh? You really do care. And I do. Like I said, going all the way back to high school when my counselor told me to stay home and be a mom. All the way through all the different scenarios. And I think that, and it's harder because I am a member of this tribe, because people know me and they're saying, wow, you should do this because, and it is true, it's harder to work with your own people. But that's my passion, because half of the people here are probably related to me in some way, but nevertheless, even those that aren't related to me. My dad told me a long time ago, you treat each of them as if they're your own kids. And it's true, you try to, the worst kid has a reason why he's being so bad. So once you get to them and talk to them and make them feel like a person, and I think it's my passion. I really do want them to be successful. I really want them to succeed and be successful. I want them to do more, be good at what they do, whether it's being a mechanic, or whether it's being a doctor, or a lawyer, or a custodian, whatever they want to end up doing, they need to do it to the best.
So you play the role of a mother and a
yes,
counselor.
Mother and a grandma. I'm a grandma now. I have 5 grandkids, so I say grandma.
What would you say there is a certain expectations based in from your students?
I'm sorry, again.
Would you say there are certain expectations you face from your students?
I think their expectations from me are basically, Miss Sanchez, what class do I take, what I need to graduate, and a lot of times they'll come to me and say, can you talk to a teacher for me, because most of the kids are shy. They're afraid to ask their teachers because they're afraid the teacher will take it out of them, or so they ask me, can you talk to so-and-so, and ask them, and I'll say, sure, I'll be a mediator kind of thing. They also, I think, expect me to be a mediator among their own peers. Sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, there's some kind of confrontation with, she looked at me funny, or he said this, or she said this, and so we're having mediations all the time. So they come to me kind of as a mediator.
Have you noticed a change in student aspirations in recent times?
Yes, I have. Like I said, I've been in this too long. I think since the early 70s, well, middle 70s till now, there's been a big change. And I think a lot of it has to do with the times have changed. Technology is different.
Right.
YouTube, internet. I mean, the kids have so much access to all kinds of things, so attitudes have changed. And even in that, the jobs market has changed from what we needed back in the 70s to now, obviously. So, yes, times have changed, and the kids have changed, goals have changed. Even with the social services changing where students can report their parents for abuse, that has given kids a lot of power, sometimes misused or where the parent disciplines their child, they report them. It has changed, yes. Even their goals, even what they want to be. So.
Have you noticed a career or college that is a favorite of your youth in this community?
Yes, and it varies from year to year. A lot of times, a lot of students, and most of them are in-state. A lot of the kids go in-state because of the tuition. Very few will go out of state, and if they do, that's because that institution gave them a pretty good scholarship, because out-of-state tuition is, it's like almost triple what they pay in-state. So the different schools in-state come and they compete with where they go in. And yes, some years more go, I don't know if I can name schools, but most go to the local one here, nearby in Albuquerque. Others go to Las Cruces, some do the smaller schools, like the 2-year schools or the 4-year, the branches before they transfer to the big schools. So, and we do have some that go out of state, but we do have the majority in state.
Is it difficult to remain objective when counseling students that are facing difficult and traumatic situations?
Oh yes, it's very hard. I'm gonna have to go back to my psychology training. You know, I've heard so many horror stories, but as you know, well, you're in psychology, so you're taught, especially in counseling, you don't want to show disgust or pleasure, or you don't want to show any type of like, oh my God, you did that, or you know, you can't, you just don't, and you don't want to judge. You're trying to be objective, and yes, it is hard, especially if it's relatives, and everything that happens in here is confidential. And so there's been many times, and the kids don't see it because I don't let them see it, but after they leave, I'll go home and I'll cry for them for a couple hours. Then I'll feel better, and I'm like, okay, now let's see what we can do. So yes, it is very, some of the things that kids go through today they would shock you.
Yeah.
Some of the things I've heard still shock me, you know, so yes, that's why they say psychologists have the highest rate of all kinds of problems too.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite role model that you would like to quote or use as an example with your students?
Well, I don't use any with my students, but the only role model, well, not the only, I've had several throughout my years, but currently that comes to mind, and I should have got your questions before. I could have thought about them, but one that comes to mind is my father, Richard Martinez. He gives me a lot of insights to kids, and even with the males, because he said boys are different than girls. You need to remember that, and they are, you know, the way we have to deal with them. And he's very traditional in the native sense, but what he tells me, I can use with all races, not just natives. But he's, like he said, treat every child as if they're your own. And that comes to mind all the time, because sometimes you want to read something and say, but
yeah.
Wait, well, I can do that to my own, but I can't do it to his. But you know, you tell them, and they know you're telling them out of caring, not because you want to be mean about it or anything. And I tell my kids that over and over. You know, I'm telling you, like, it'd be easy for me to just walk away and say, flunk if you want.
Yeah.
But no, I want you to go. Let's see what we can do to pass. And so I think my father would be my role model.
Do you think students in this community face any unique challenges due to their culture?
Yes, they do face a lot of unique challenges in the sense of what can be said and what can't be said. A lot of times the non-native teacher or administrator, because we have we have three actually non-native administrators, and when they try to explain some of the reasons they do things a certain way, they don't understand. And so I try to say, well, I don't want to use that as a scapegoat,
right.
But unless you have been through it, you don't know. For example, the death of a family member. If a student is gone more than one day, they're like, well, why? But we do certain things, which you're probably aware of, that we are expected to be a part of. And sometimes it's hard to explain to them that, wait a minute. And then our coaches are non-native, and so they miss practice due to something simple as deer hunting, or something simple as participating in our cultural activities. They don't understand. But, so yes, it's unique being of a different culture, where your teachers are, and I think a lot of them try to learn or try to understand, but if they're not willing to budge because of state requirements or whatever, it makes it pretty hard.
So, it's good to have, like,
yeah, it's good, right? I think so. Or someone that's really open to learn the culture or understand. They may not know every detail, because there are some things you can't, but they're able to say, okay, well, I don't know, but yes. And a lot of people won't take advantage. It is for real.
Yeah. Do you think students face difficulties combining their traditional upbringing with their modern society?
I think, I'm an example. You have to learn to acculturate. You have to learn to be able to balance the two. because, like I said earlier,